Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. The purpose of this is to just provide you with some information that our hosts of the State Debate Tournament, that is the Indiana School Speech and Debate Association, also known as ISSDA, that they've asked us to share with you, the volunteer judges. So before we go further, I just want to tell you thank you so much for your willingness to judge. These tournaments, but particularly here, the State Debate Tournament, we have to select a very small number of students that have the opportunity to compete. We're limited in our roster, and so these are our students who we consider to be the best of our phenomenal team, going up against the best of other teams from around the state, and it is a very intense competition between them. So thank you so much for your willingness to be a part of that, to make this possible. We could not do it without our volunteer judges. You play perhaps the most important role in helping the tournaments to be a success and determining who will be state champions at the end of the day on Saturday. So thank you again for giving up your time, whether it's Saturday or Friday or both, to giving up time and work and things like that to make this happen. Let's go ahead and get started. So let's first start with some general information that will be helpful for you, and then we'll get into more state-specific information. First thing I want to say is the vast majority of our judges, so far at least, have judged before, and so a lot of this is going to be not different or specific to state. But if you have not judged before, then let me encourage you to watch another video. Watch a video that I've made that helps to lay out some of the things that you can expect when it comes to judging, getting you set up well with the online balloting software that is SpeechWire, and all of those things. So you will find that video in the email that I sent to you earlier this week. So check out that video. It is longer than this one, but it does give you a good overview of some of those things and what you can kind of expect when it comes to judging and how you can be prepared. But let's assume that you either have judged before or now you've watched that video. First thing that you want to know is that all judging, like usual, will be done using online ballots, and those you'll access via live.speechwire.com. You want to make sure that you have logged in. You don't have to create a separate account. Don't create a coach account or something like that. Just go to live.speechwire.com and enter that email and password that if you've judged before, again, you already know, to log in, and just make sure that you're able to do that before the first round on Friday. Again, if you've judged before, you're a pro at that, but especially if it's your first time, you want to make sure you do that. You will need to bring a laptop or a tablet in order to judge. You technically can use your phone, but it's not recommended. SpeechWire is very not mobile friendly, and so having a laptop or a tablet to be able to write comments easily and access those ballots will be helpful. I, as the coach, am responsible for checking all of our judges in and ensuring that you're there and ready to go. So just let me know via text when you arrive so that I can meet you. I can give you a judge packet. The ISSDA puts together a little pamphlet, judge booklet packet for judges that's specific to the state tournament. So I want to get a physical copy of that in your hands and answer any questions that you have before the start of round one. Now, round one, this is for Friday, okay? On round one on Friday, you'll see those schematics and those ballots being posted. Your round one assignment will be posted at 4:30 on Friday. You do not need to be at Avon High School that early. I think I put in the information between 4:30 and 4:45, or between 4:45 and 5 is fine. Round one starts at 5:15, so as long as you are present, I know you're there, you've got your judge booklet, and you're in that first round classroom by 5:15, then you are set. Now, when you're not judging, you want to be in one of two places. The first is the judges' lounge, or the other option would be the cafeteria. The main thing that you want to avoid is going and watching around just when you don't believe that you're going to be assigned for that round. Now, that's tempting, of course. A lot of your children are competing, and so you want to have the opportunity to see them compete, and I totally understand that. If they make it into elimination rounds and certain judges are released, meaning that they will for sure not be needed for the rest of the tournament, then that's something that you might have the opportunity to do. But the problem is, oftentimes, if judges are doing that, or going and watching rounds when they're not assigned, first of all, a particular round, a judge might not show up, or a judge that they thought was present isn't there, and they end up having to replace that judge, and you might be that replacement that they pull in. There's all sorts of blocks on who can judge what, not judging the same competitors twice, not judging competitors from the same school, and so you very well might be the only or one of the only people that's able to judge that other round, and so they want you in that judge's lounge so they can contact you in case they need to pull you into another round. And also, different events tend to start at different times. So just because you don't think that you've gotten assigned a ballot for that particular round, you might in another event, and you will likely end up judging different events throughout the day or the 2 days. So that's very, very important that you be in one of those two places when you're not judging. So round 3 then on Saturday morning will begin at 8. So if you're only judging on Saturday, make sure that you're there by 7:30 or so again, or between 7:30 and 7:45, so that you can check in with me, get that judge booklet and all of that, get a map of the school, Wi-Fi information, all of those different things. Especially if you weren't there on Friday, then you want to make sure that you have plenty of time to check those things so that you're ready to go at 8. Again, 7:30 is when those ballots and schematics should be sent out, so you'll know where you're supposed to be. On both Friday and Saturday, food for judges will be available. Friday evening will probably be more just snacks and things like that. Saturday they'll have some breakfast items, some lunch. They'll have snack items available throughout the day, so feel free to help yourself to those. All right, let's talk about some things that you want to be aware of for judging. We'll start with the preliminary rounds. Those are rounds 1 through 3. Each of those rounds will have 2 judges in each one. You want to make sure that before you start the round that you have both judges present and, of course, all of the competitors, both teams or individuals if it's Lincoln Douglas. You want to confirm that just because you see another adult in the room that they are, in fact, the other judge. Sometimes a coach or somebody might be in there watching their team or something like that. So you just want to confirm before you start the round that the other person is, in fact, the judge, and confirm that you have the correct competitors, the same ones that you have on your ballot, or the competitors that you have in front of you. Once the judges are there, including yourself, and the competitors are there, you can go ahead and click. In fact, you should go ahead and click Start Round. You want to do that even if you're not ready to start the round right at that moment, because that just signals to the office, to the tabulation room, that that round has everybody that they need. They don't have to be concerned about it. If a team or judge does not show up within 5 to 10 minutes of when the round reasonably you would assume would start, this is the clear start round. This is the clear actual round time early in the tournament while things are running on time. If things kind of get shuffled and pushed around on the schedule a little bit as we go throughout the day, then think of it from, okay, this is when I received the ballot at this time. I went to the room. So everybody else should have done basically the same. But I've been here for 5 or 10 minutes past that, and still we're missing somebody. That's when you want to log on to that Google Meet. There's going to be a link for that that's listed in that judge booklet that ISSDA's put together to notify the office, notify the tabulation room that you're missing somebody. Be prepared to share, which event you're in, which section. You'll see that on the ballot, and who exactly it is that you're missing, judge or competitor, etc. At the end of the round, you want to go ahead and get your decision. That would be the who won and who lost. So who won and the speaker points. You want to go ahead and get those entered and on the ballot and submitted as soon as possible after the round. You can always go back and add more comments later. That part is not locked. You can continue to add comments until the end of the tournament. But you want to get the decision in as soon as possible so that the tabulation room, the office, can begin pairing the next round. You want to make sure that you do not confer with the other judge or judges before submitting your ballot. You want to submit your ballot. You want to make sure everyone has submitted their ballot before discussing it. In the preliminary rounds, you should not reveal who won. You should not, and you certainly should not be giving any oral critiques or oral RFDs, reason for decisions, there in the round, okay? That slows the tournament down. And I will even ask you to, as nicely as you can, if another judge starts trying to do that, you are authorized to say, hey, they've asked us not to do that in order to keep the things going. Let's get our decisions submitted and then let the competitors head out. Okay? So don't confer with the other judges. Get your decision entered as soon as possible. Now, once we get into elimination rounds, everything I just said would be for Friday and for the first round on Saturday. Okay, those are prelim rounds. For elimination rounds, that's basically round 4 going forward. So after the first round, that's on Saturday. Those are elimination rounds, and those will have 3 judges and not just 2. So again, you want to just make sure that you don't start the round until you have confirmed that all 3 judges and your competitors, of course, are present. But once again, you don't want to consult with other judges before you've submitted your ballot. Come to your decision as quickly as possible once the round finishes. Submit it. And then if you want to continue working on feedback at that point while you're waiting for the other judges to submit, then you can go ahead and do that. But you should let the other judges know just, hey, I've submitted my decision. And the reason for that is that, just like last year, if you judged last year, you know this, or if you judged at Nationals, you know this, that for elimination rounds, after all 3 judges have submitted their decision, not before. Remember, you don't want to confer prior or influence each other prior to that decision being made. I want that as unbiased or influenced as possible. But once all 3 judges have submitted their decision, then you will reveal to the competitors how you voted. And so you should just go down the line of the judges, hey, I voted affirmative, or I voted negative. Please, still here, no oral reason for decisions or oral critiques. You do not need to explain at this point why you voted how you voted. Just simply give your decision so that the competitors know who won, so that the winners, those that are advancing, kind of know to be looking for their next round. This is something that they did last year. There were pros and cons to it. One of the cons was that people thought or assumed that because they were giving the decision that they should then give oral critiques or their reason for decision aloud as well. Please do not do that. And just like I said before, you're authorized. If there's somebody that is doing that, one of the other judges is doing that, then you can politely as possible just say, hey, they've asked us not to do oral critiques or RFDs. Let's give the decision and let the debaters move on. Again, they say that the hope is to help debaters know in advance to pay attention to future postings. They all pay attention anyway, but it is what it is. All right. Next, if you have a question about a potential rules violation, if one of the debaters claims that a rule has been violated or you think that a rule might be violated, then please do not make a decision based on what you think the rule is. You should simply take your question to the Ombudsman. That'd be Mr. Dan Tyree, our Executive Director. He'll be in room E208. Now, if it's not something that would affect your decision in the round, no matter what, then go ahead and submit your decision and then go there to ask your question. But if it would affect your decision, then go there directly. And just let the other judge or judges know, hey, I have a question for the Ombudsman regarding a rule, just a rule question. So I'm going to go there and get that question answered before submitting my ballot. If it's an elim round, no big deal at all. If it's a prelim round, no big deal at all. The other judge will just do what they're supposed to do. And then if it's a elim round, then you can ask ask the competitors and the other judges if they want to wait. But more likely, you should just go ahead and say that they can turn everybody loose when you're done. That's a bit of a gray area as to how they want that handled. But for the most part, I would say just take that decision or take that question directly to the Ombudsman room. If you have a concern or question regarding an equity issue, you believe that there might have been some sort of discrimination or something like that, then that's something that you can take to the Belonging and Inclusion Station in room E10. Dr. Paul Porter, who works for the NSDA, has been but has connections here to Indiana. He's the director of Equity and Inclusion for the NSDA, the National Speech and Debate Association. Phenomenal resource. So he's serving as the belonging and inclusion advocate for the tournament. Great resource there should something like that come up. And then, like I said before, we're going to try to let you know when you're no longer needed. Once elimination rounds have started, the goal is to post a list of judges who have been released from judging. As we go further and further into the tournament, that list will become longer. Ideally, we'll have a ton of Carmel competitors in those elimination rounds that you'd be blocked from judging, and so you wouldn't be able to judge them, and so we'll have a lot of free judges. We do have a lot of judges on our team who have judged at a lot of tournaments, and that moves them up sort of in the category of the number of how valuable they are to those elimination rounds, and because there's different rankings for different judges, A, B, and C. So a lot of our judges are A judges. This is something we ran into last year where they needed to keep a lot of those A judges back to still judge those later rounds. And I know that can be frustrating to have to stay later to only then find out that you don't end up having to judge. But that is just a necessary evil of making sure that the tournament actually runs, that they're able to have the judges that they need for those final rounds. So your patience with that is extremely appreciated. All right, final notes. That's important to know. Now, like I said, you're not expected to be an expert in the rules. Any questions about the rules you should take to the ombudsman. But here are some key ones that are important that we can eliminate issues and prevent issues that we've had in the past by just you being aware of these things. On World Schools Debate, it's a very unique event. You can have up to 5 students on a team, but only 3 of them participate or speak in a round. It is very important that the non-participating team members, they are welcome to sit in the room, they're welcome to spectate, but number 1, they're not allowed to take notes. And number 2, they are not allowed to communicate in any way, shape, or form with their teammates who are actually competing. So you want to ensure the only communication is knocking on their desk to indicate that they agree with something that a teammate is saying, but there should be nothing more. So if you're judging World Schools, let me encourage and implore you to have the teams have the actual competing students at the front of the room near the podium, and then have the non-participating students sit a ways back from them so that you can still see them, so that you can ensure that they're not communicating with their teammates, but they're not so close that they could communicate without you knowing, right? And kind of balance it, and then you sit back in the room so that you can see everything. Don't let any spectators, this is true for this is a good rule of thumb for really any round that you're judging that has spectators. Make sure that the spectators are in your line of vision. So if there's a question, this is just a common thing with World Schools. One of our teams got eliminated for this last year for something that didn't actually happen, but because the judges didn't see it, we were kind of screwed. So make sure that you have them in their line of sight. And then internet usage is allowed for all events, again, except for World Schools. World Schools, they should not have any electronic devices that they're accessing during the round. They technically should not even be using their phones to time. This, again, something that is a pet peeve because we were accused of timing using a cell phone last year, and that's something that got us eliminated, which again might sound petty, but again, it's something that can come up. So make sure World Schools not using any technology, including cell phones. They should have timers and things like that in order to time it themselves. All right, well, thank you so much for your willingness, again, to judge on behalf of the ISSDA Board of Directors. We just want to thank you so much for your willingness to make things like this happen, volunteering your time, your effort, your expertise. You bring something unique to each of these rounds, and while we ask you to be as unbiased as possible and to judge the round only on its merits, the fact is that each person brings their own unique experiences and worldview and perspective to these, and that's an extremely valuable thing for our students to encounter as they as they try to communicate with a large or diverse group of people each competition. So thank you for being a part of that. Thank you for following these procedures and everything to help everything go smoothly. If you have any questions or concerns or anything, either today or throughout this whole process, then feel free to reach out to me. That's what I'm here for. In the meantime, I will see you either Friday or Saturday. Hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we will see you then.